Hello, Merry Meet. So this video is going to be about the topic of shadow people. Now, what are shadow people? Generally speaking, they are a type of paranormal phenomena that a lot of people experience. Uh, Usually, they are seen as uh, humanoid shapes, but seeming to be made out of shadows. Sometimes, though, these shapes can be animals or even yes, nondescript shaped, but generally, by the name shadow people, they are shadow people. Now, some people think that shadow people are ghosts uh, or other types of spiritual entities. Others, however, feel that these entities behave in ways that do not match with the idea of ghosts. So, I have to say that I have only one experience with shadow people myself. So I will recount that first, and then I'll discuss the phenomena in greater detail later. Basically, sometimes around the apartment here, I see two different kinds of entities. One is an old man. This is your typical ghost, and it's your typical ghost on repeat. I'm not sure what I call them in English. Basically, there are several types of apparitions, if you will. And you have the spirits who you can fully interact with, who are beings in their own right. And then you have those that seem more like just leftover energies because they just repeat the same action again and again and again and again, and it seems more like just some sort of energy on repeat. So I see an old man. I mean, my apartment is sort of like one long hallway. You have it ends with a terrace door here in this end, and my entrance door at that end, and then you have rooms to either side. And I see a man walking this path at times. I also at times see a shadow shape. And it's just out of the corner of my eyes because when I turn and look directly at it, it's gone. But that's clearly a humanoid shape. I usually see it's a humanoid shape. Sometimes I just see an odd shadow, but usually it's a humanoid shape. And um, it doesn't feel anyway near like what that old man feels like. We have also had things fly off counters and such things here, and I'm more inclined to think that the shadow shape is responsible for that than that energy on repeat, which I do believe the old man is. But uh, even so, that shadow shape has never threatened me or harmed me in any way. I do not feel fear or in danger when I see him. And I do get a feel it's a male energy, so I can be wrong there. But like I said, it's just something I see. I do feel that this is more aware. I get a sense it's a being, but I'm not just leftover energy. But I don't really feel threatened or anything. However, a lot of people who experience shadow people feel threatened. Many feel an extreme amount of dread when they see a shadow person. I feel that I sort of just resonate ominence. Often shadow people are described very much like you would describe the Mara and those kinds of entities in folklore. That they jump people and sit on them and you become completely paralyzed. And a lot of people have these attacks, mm, sometimes weekly, sometimes even more often. Now, it should be mentioned, I do experience sleep paralysis, not so much now as I did when I was a little girl. However, I never experienced the presence of a shadow person in connection with my sleep paralysis. I believe my sleep paralysis was caused by an attempt to enter the astral plane, and that fear, because of it can be a very, very terrifying condition, um, blocked that because it started right after I was a little girl, saw a program about the out of body experiences, and very often, no, almost always, when before I had um, a feeling of basically I woke up and I couldn't move. I saw myself very vividly falling through a library, almost like that scene in Alice in Wonderland where she falls through that with all stuff. Yeah, seeing myself fall through this amazing, huge library, and I feel that's basically the Akashic records, and that my body was trying to reach that stroke. No, I mean, my mind was trying to reach that stroke, but weren't able to leave my body because of internal conflict. So I never felt that threatened feeling of it. So yeah, that's my experience with shadow people. It has not been a scary experience, not as yet at least. Uh, he has not attacked me. He, as far as I know, has not attacked any other member of the household. I just see him there. So, what's a typical shadow people encounter? Most people see this shadowy figure. Very often they are called bedroom invaders uh, because, like some UFO kidnapping experiences and so on and so forth, they have a tendency to be seen in people's bedrooms when they are at the most vulnerable. Very often people will wake up and they will see these figures, one or two, sometimes more, loom over them. It's very often a feeling of being held down, that is being sit on their chest, a feeling of enormous dread and terror, and a feeling of them being just ominous. So, because of this, they have been linked to UFO experiences. They have also been linked to a concept of something from another dimension. Some also links them to demonic activity. So, what do I think? Well, I think that's many of the explanations can be true, because I don't necessarily think that all shadow people are the same type of entity. Like, for example, what I see could be a nature spirit or it could be a ghost for that matter. I don't know. It's just that it takes the form of shadows. I think that shadows is a relatively simple way for spirits to manifest to visibility. Basically, for a spirit, it takes a lot of chi, a lot of energy to manifest anything, to get our attention anyway, and only the most powerful spirits, or those most anchored to something, can usually manifest to visibility. And the more visible, the more energy. That's at least the general theory. Therefore, a lot of people see spirits like in the corner of the eye, as almost like a white mist, those sort of things, and shadows should also be relatively easy to manipulate like that. Uh, so I don't necessarily think that all people you see in shadowy form necessarily then are the same type of entities. So, do I believe in such bedroom invaders? Yeah, absolutely. There's so many people who have reported experiences with such entities and have so much lesser life quality because of living in constant dread of such. nightly invaders. And could they be demons in some sort of pantheon? Or entities from another dimension? Or even something from who knows where? Sure, they could be. So, I think that we know too little about this phenomena to start and say it's definitely this, it's definitely that. I do believe that there are several dimensions, and that it's possible for something to cross over halfway or completely, and that these things that pass over might be so alien from us that they would be considered extremely hostile. I mean, biting your head off might be their way to say hello. I also believe that some ghosts and nature spirits will manifest as shadows. When it comes to the alien connection, certainly there are some similarities between what people experience when it comes to UFOs and so on and so forth. There's several phenomena here that is somewhat linked. Uh, so could there be a link there? Yeah, there could, but again, we don't know what these UFO experiences are either. We have sort of called them aliens, but lately there's been a much more growing movement that likes to refer to graves and so on, more as dimensional travelers. So could there be a link there? Let's move the camera because sunlight. So, yeah, what I'm saying with all this babbling is that I do believe there are many types of shadow people. And that, I mean, and I don't necessarily think that all kinds of shadow people are negative. But I do know that people have a greater tendency to experience negative things with entities that seems to be manifested of shadows. And I do get a far more, like I said, the shadow person I see, I do get a more ominous feel from him than from a lot of other spirits I've seen. That does not mean he's threatening or anything like that, but I do feel that he might not be as fully positive as many other spirits. However, I think also that might be a little bit about the perceivers as well, because here's the thing. Uh, I believe that a lot of how we perceive a spirit is how we is basically our senses translating energy that we're picking up. And as such, if something has a more negative tint to it, could it not be that we don't really see it with our eyes? We don't really see light reflecting of something and that hitting on the nerves in our eyes and all of that. We are feeling energy, and that our minds then sort of translates into a manifestation of energy, a manifestation that we can see. And that something that that then have a tendency to manifest in ways that are easy for us to translate. So that's something that's light and happy and positive. Generally, we look that way, while something that is more negative more will look like darkness and shadows. So yeah. So what should you do if you experience shadow people phenomena? Well, I would read up about it as much as I can and also get into contact with others who have these experiences. Like I said, I don't know how much help I can be because my experiences aren't negative. I would recommend that if you any with any spiritual entity that seems to be in your house, offer it to help. Ask it if it needs help to find the light. I would not force a non-threatening, non-negative spirit to leave, but ask it if it's anything you can do for it, and if it, and then see if it will respond in dreams. You can use an Ouija board. You can use a lot of things to try to communicate with it, and see if there's anything you can do to help. And do remember when you use those things to protect yourself by doing cleansings and protections. If, however, you experience something very negative, I would recommend starting with a regime of doing the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram uh, once a day. I might consider going to a professional to get the house cleansed and so on. Unfortunately, what I hear and read is that a lot of people who suffer from attacks of shadow people, nothing seems to help. They have tried to go to priests, that are to go to people who are professional house cleansers, that tried everything, and it very often have not helped. But at the same time, I don't feel that we should all sit down and say, no, oh well, that's how it is. You try. You try the various forms of cleansings and rituals. You try to go to a professional. You try to do something about it. Because generally, you're never more helpless than you allow yourself to be. So, yeah. And generally speaking, don't panic if you see. There's a lot of things, horror stories out on the internet about shadow people. And I would say don't panic even if you see a shadowy manifestation. It doesn't mean it's something about to get you. Do I believe there are aggressive shadow people? Yes. Does that mean that all shadow people are the same type? We don't know that. And nor do we know what all of them want. Now, some people have said that researching shadow people are more likely to draw them to you, so take that warning into consideration. However, I would say the same there with anything like I've repeated 1,000 times before. When doing research about the spiritual, when getting involved with something like that, always remember to cleanse and protect yourself, because you never know what you'll get into contact with, and by becoming more open, energies reach a higher plane, and you will attract spiritual attention and attention of energies. So basically, cleansings and protections are just a good idea. And also, don't panic. Not everything in the spiritual world is out to get you. So yeah, I believe that the shadow people phenomena is very interesting and definitely something that's worth researching. And yeah, and if you are one of those that are suffering under shadow people and get attacked, my sympathies to you. And yeah, I do recommend the lesser banishment ritual of the pentagram and other daily protections and see if that helps. So yeah, that's my thought about it. Not a lot of it because it's not a phenomenon I'm hugely familiar with, but I just wanted to share my 2 cents. Have a great day and blessed be.